Today's episode is brought to you by White Glove Car Wash. Man, it feels like we just never get a break. We go from salt and brine on the roads right into pollen season, and our car never seems to be as clean as we needed it to be. That's where White Glove steps in. They're offering unlimited car wash packages for as low as $20 a month. You can take your car in daily and make sure that it is shiny, squeaky clean like you always want it to be, and not have to worry about cleaning it yourself. And with the satisfaction guarantee, you will never have to worry about it being just right. With locations in Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, you are never too far from the glove. Family owned and operated for over 40 years, go out and support small businesses this year and support your car by giving it the best car wash possible. Just ask your phone to take you to White Glove Car Wash and be taken to the nearest location to you, and let them give you the best car wash you have ever experienced.
Welcome to Talking 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fighters, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Sean, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talking 215.
What is up, everybody? We got another episode of Talking 215 this week, and it is the post-MLB trade deadline show. We kind of pushed this show back a little bit because we wanted to come to you fresh right after the deadline so we could talk about everything. We got the usual suspects in here. We got myself, Coach. We got the guy with the luscious Darren Dalton, a.k.a. John Crook, locks coming out the back of his hair. We got Jakey. Of course, we got the best doc in the business from Delaware Orthopedic, Dr. Joseph Mesa. And we got the big Z, Sean, is in the house as well. We got the usual suspects here, guys. I'm just going to throw it out there. How are we feeling? What is the pulse check? What's going on? We know we're leading this show off with trade deadline MLB talk. So how's everybody feeling? Give me your overall after the deadline.
I am so glad I don't have to see another tweet about hearing that we're in the works talking about acquiring Stephen Kwan anymore. I had no idea that this guy was just the top of the top when it came to just MLB players. I had no idea this guy was such a stud, and that everybody and their mother wanted him, and everybody had us connected to him. I'm so glad this is over.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, personally, I don't feel good about it. Like, that you didn't do enough. You know, you went out and you got a stud reliever, and who knows what gamesmanship, who knows if they're in on anybody else, but you have Dave Dombrowski immediately filing a trade saying, yeah, we're not addressing the pitchers anymore. We're not interested in adding anymore. Like, I don't know. It could be a little gamesmanship. Obviously, he knows a lot more than I do about how to run a baseball team from the front office standpoint. I just think it's kind of a stupid thing to say. It kind of plays your hand a little bit. And then you go out and you get Harrison Bader. Like, is he better than Max Kepler? Yeah, like he is. But then in the same breath, you say, yeah, we feel like Justin Crawford's ready to come up. All right, well then bring him up. Like you can't say, yeah, he's ready to come up. But, you know, we when he comes up, we want him to get a lot of at-bats. Okay, Max Kepler blows. Like, what's keeping you from bringing him up and knocking Max Kepler down? Like, we're relatively large Brandon Marsh guys because we know the player he is. He's a 7 and 9 hole player. And if you view him as a 7 and 9 hole player, he's a very good 7 and 9 hole guy. But that's what he is. He's a very good end of the order guy. If you don't feel like he can be as good or better than Justin Crawford, bring him out. If you're stroking Max Kepler so bad and you need to have that 170 batting average over the last 15 games, even though you're claiming, yeah, he's been really swinging the bat better as of late because he had one home run, again, batting 170 over the last 15 games. Like, it just does not make sense what comes out of his mouth. And then what actually we can see in not even subjective, just objective truth, statistical truth that Max Kepler blows, and there's no reason that he's still playing.
Doc, how you feeling about it?
Well, it's like a 50-50 thing. I mean, I'm happy about the reliever. I think it was great. I think the fact they got him for 2 years and they didn't really have to give up the farm for him. But my feeling was I don't think they were willing to give up the farm, and that's why they missed out on a lot of good players, in my opinion. I think they could have gone for broke, and they chose not to. So they're going to have to live by the consequences of this trade deadline. And, Bader doesn't move the needle at all for me. I mean, really, is that really going to radically change? I think what they're saying basically is, look, we know we have the bats. We got the reliever. Now you guys show up and start hitting for a change. And I think they have the lineup that could be very productive, through the whole season and through the playoffs. But these guys have to show up. The guys we paid a lot of money for have to do their job. And now I think Dombrowski's kind of saying that, like, here, you got this one guy. He's not really moving the needle, but we got you a reliever. We improved the bullpen. And starting pitching's great. So it's up to you guys to produce.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I know that the all-star caliber players need to produce, but this offense seems so predicated on the top three guys, Trey, Schwarber, and Bryce, being hot or hitting well or hitting with runners in scoring position, that the rest kind of just, to me, is just like, I've said this before on the show, like if I see an inning coming up that has like, Weston Wilson, Johan Rojas, and Stott up as the next three, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm taking a bathroom break.
Was this Bader change that for you?
Not really, Doc.
Yeah.
It really doesn't for me. And I honestly think Bader is just a right-handed Marsh at his peak, if that makes sense. So Brandon Marsh, the best version of Brandon Marsh that we've seen, I think is, a left-handed Harrison Bader, so to speak. I think they're very similar. So this is what I don't understand is, and obviously this is revisionist history, right? This is revisionist. In the offseason, you signed Kepler for $10 million. In the offseason, Bader was available, and he signed for $6 million. Okay? So if I were to ask every Phillies fan on the planet, do you think Justin Crawford and Harrison Bader are an upgrade over Max Kepler? They're all going to say yes. Okay, well, you could have already done up prospects. Yeah. And we've seen this team the last 3 years in a row implode because they could not hit. And I think the point of adding a bat isn't just what the bat can do, but what it can do for the others around it. If you were to throw, and I don't know if he was available, I don't know what the offers were, et cetera, Eugenio Suarez into this lineup, now all of a sudden that's somebody that the other team has to account for. The other team has to say, hey, if I walk Bryce, if I walk Schwarber, this guy could put one 450 to left center easily in one swing and change the game. So I got to be careful. With Bader, is he better than Kepler? Yes. Is he a defensive upgrade? Yes. Does he have power from the right side and has performed in the playoffs? Yes. But to your point, Doc, does he change anything about anybody else in this lineup? Does he change the movement for you? It doesn't change anything.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is he gets Kepler the hell out of there, right?
Let's hope.
No. Like, is he going to play center and we're going to keep Kepler out there? Like that feels insane to me. But what do I know? I've just watched like 90% of the games. Ultimately, in grabbing Bader, it wasn't the home run you were hoping for, right? It wasn't the Suarez. It wasn't the Quan, right? We didn't get that power bat. We didn't even really get a plus bat. We got kind of like a 50-50 bat, right? But
255 average, 756 OPS.
So I mean that's kind of like the midline. It's certainly an upgrade over just about anybody outside of maybe Castillo that's in the outfield. I think we're really just glossing over that we got Jahan Duran, or excuse me, yeah, and he's an absolute demon. I feel like we're kind of skipping over that because it happened yesterday and not today. This is awesome. We did improve the lineup. I'm looking over like trade deadlines past where we seem like we did the bare minimum so that Middleton and Dombrowski can actually talk to reporters and go, hey, listen, we made moves to actually try to get this ball team better. We actually did. We did make this ball team better.
But Sean, is it better comparatively speaking to the top dogs in the National League? Is it how much better did you need to get to keep pace with how much better other teams got? Is it, I guess, a bigger question.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at this point, with the way this team has been playing lately, like we're fighting for a wild card spot.
They're 500s for the last 2.5 months, I think.
We've been 500. It feels like for the last 3 years, okay? We start off, we've got a good April, a great May, and then anytime after, like, I don't know, Memorial Day, we're like 500, right? Yeah. So, I don't know. It's not the changes that we're going to make at this deadline that's going to make or break us. Like, we just need to figure out how to not play 500 ball as a team. We did get better, right? But we, like you guys mentioned, we still need this $300 million payroll to play like it.
That's a great point.
Yeah. No, it's funny. My dad, we were watching the game where we watched that terrible Max Lazar inning and everything. And we were just talking about the fact that they're a 500 baseball team over the past 2 months. And he's like, I feel like this is just the reverse of all the Phillies teams I watched growing up. He's like, we'd watch a team where the first 4 months of the season, they were just terrible. And they'd completely go out of position to have any chance of the postseason. And then the last 2 months of the season, they were absolute world beaters for no reason, because they were 40 games out of a wild card or the last playoff spot, but they just go on an incredible run. And you're like, what the hell is going on? He's like, now it's the opposite. They could not be beat. They went on these incredible tears. And now it's like, man, if we can just win a series against a bad White Sox team, against an Angels team, against anybody, a Red Sox team, like, man, that'd be great. But we're struggling against guys that are barely clinging to their major league dreams. And we're having them go out there and pitch 7 strong innings against us. And we're having guys go out. But it's like, you have guys in their prime. And Coach, I think you tweeted it perfectly. I don't know what they thought about Bryce Harper going back to the outfield, but they must have said, no, there's no world in which we can do that. Because to your point, he's like, look, man, we have to bring a bat in. We need a right-handed bat. I don't care what position essentially you put him in. I'll go to the outfield. You can put him in the infield. He can be a first baseman, a third baseman, anywhere in the middle, really, because they don't even know what's going on with Stott right now, because we got Otto Kemp. He can play first or third. We got Alec Boehm. He can play first or third. Bryce Harper can go to the outfield. So he's like, man, get any bat at any position, and I will do whatever's possible to get a role for him. But they were just so set on, no, we got to get a right-handed outfielder. Like, they cut the amount of players that they could go after in half for no reason. We could have had any bat come in here and get consistent plate appearances, consistent at bats, other than maybe catcher. And they were just like, nope, we got to go with an outfielder. We go out, and yeah, he does make the team better. Like Harrison Bader, journeyman center fielder. People were calling him the White Rojas, but a slightly better bat, because he's very good defensively, and he's usually, a middling bat. Right now, like I said, he's batting .255 with a 750 OPS for a guy that's probably going to be batting in the 7-hole. Like, okay, cool. That's great. But we're not losing games because our 7-hole hitter isn't producing. We're losing games because we're getting such inconsistent at-bats from our 1 through 6 hitters. And to everybody's point, we're a $300 million payroll. We start playing like it, sure, we can go on a run. But we asked the question like a month ago, is this team currently a World Series caliber team? And my answer is still probably not. Sure, they can be. I'm not saying they can't be. Like, anything can happen. We've seen terrible teams make the World Series. We've seen some bad teams win the World Series. It's baseball. Anything can happen. But to Coach's point, when you're looking at the top teams in the NL and the changes they made and the additions they made, and the Padres going out signing and trading for every single prospect, not even prospect, every single stud out there, and you see us add Harrison Bader, it's like, yeah, are we a World Series team? Sure, we could be. But right now, as it sits in my eyes, probably not.
And and I think that the frustration comes from us as fans. It's not that we're like mad at Dave, because we don't know if the price for Quan, and nobody traded for Quan, by the way. So we don't really have a basis of comparison here. So kind of like Doc was alluding to, it could have been like a king's ransom that you just absolutely cannot afford to give up for this guy. Maybe the same thing with Buxton. Maybe they tried with somebody else that we don't know about, right? Like that, just people were saying, we need Painter, Crawford, Miller, Marsh, and boom. And you're like, absolutely not. Like, we're not doing that. I think what bothers me the most is that something bigger didn't get done. And I'm not blaming Dave for not doing it. But what I can blame Dave for is going into this season, his offseason moves were Jordan Romano and Joe Ross to replace Carlos Estevez and Jeff Hoffman. Obviously, that's horrific way to replace that. The black hole we had in left field, whether it be Austin Hayes, Whit Merrifield, a platoon, you name it, it was to give $10 million to Max Kepler. I mean, these moves are not moves that like make up for what you lost. This is just like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. And that's what I think like a Howie Roseman is so much different. When Howie messed up with Jalen Reagor and that pick and everything, he's like, F it, I'm gonna go trade for AJ Brown, one of the best receivers in the league. Before that, he traded up with his rival to get Devontae Smith because he knew he messed up. He didn't have the people that he wanted. Like when he makes a mistake, he will fix it with the same caliber of fix that the mistake is worth. I feel like when the Phillies make a mistake, they just do like the little patchwork. They'll put like a couple stitches when it really requires 12 stitches. They'll put a Band-Aid when really it requires sutures. I just feel like their makeup doesn't make up. If that makes sense?
I really just think that John Milton has put a line in the sand and said, listen, buddy, this is how much money I have to spend. Your job is to get the best team available for less than that or up to that. Right.
Yeah, but
it seems like
there
a
isn't
pretty
an amount
hard.
of money that he's able to spend. It's what he's willing to spend. Don't get me
I
started
didn't
on
say
John
able
Middleton.
I know,
or
Jake's about to
willing.
go
I said,
there.
this is the line. This is how much you, Dave Dombrowski, can spend. This is how much I'm giving you. This is how much allowance you get. Okay. And this is the line. Because you can see every there's like a give and a take to it where he's really not willing to move much off of this outside of a couple $1 million here. So, I mean, that's what you're going to get. You're going to end up getting the outfielder that has, $3 million left to be paid the rest of the season, right? You're going to get a guy with a couple of years of team control. You're not going to get a guy that's making a ton of money, right? If they've been signed.
I'm trying to find the tweet. I think it was Phillies Tailgate that did it. I'm not 100%. I'm trying to find it. So if I'm wrong, I apologize to whoever made it. But they tweeted, it was like since 2005, the players that the Phillies paid between 10 and $15 million to. And it was like 30 players, 35 players. And I think 2 of them were good. It's like, yeah, if we're shopping and we call it bargain bin, like 10 to $15 million is a steal. Like if we're shopping in that area, we have to do better than a 3% hit rate. Like you got to start getting some better talent. I mean, some of these names on that list, you're just like, really? Like we gave them that much money to bring him over to the Phillies? I mean, like Didi Gregorius was one, and you're like, all right, I guess that's one of, and that was one of the good players on that list. Matt Strahm was probably the best, and it was like just a bunch of other bums. And it's just at some point, if you're saying, nope, we've reached our max, we can't go over this certain amount, you got to do better than this. And it's just funny. Austin Hayes, hitting 278 for Cincinnati right now. Of course, you never know what's going to happen. He had to go. He was pretty bad here in Philadelphia. But it's just so weird. And then it's like, all right, yeah, we can't give, Crawford, Miller, all these, Bohm. We can't give these guys for these proven commodities and everything. All right, well then play them. Like they're so untouchable that we can't get rid of them. And then in the same breath, you say, yeah, we really feel like Crawford's ready to come up here. Well, then bring him up. It makes absolutely no sense how you're managing this team, how you're running this franchise, saying, nope, we're not going to trade them. They're untouchable, even if we're getting the opportunity to get a absolute bona fide proven stud. And we feel like they're ready to come up, but we're not.
Let me ask you guys something in that same breath. If Crawford came up and was struggling and he was hitting like 203, 205, do you think fans would be in uproar or what?
Better than Kepler.
That's my point right there. Is 205 is what Kepler's hitting right now. I think he's hitting like 206, 208, something like that. But 205 is where he's pretty much lived and hovered. Would you rather 205, that's an elite defender, that's going to be one of the fastest guys on the team that can beat out infield grounders, or would you rather have 205 Max Kepler for $10 million? I think that's another point is, Jake, and you're talking about $10 to $15 million, right? Just shelling out to the Whit Merrifields, the Austin Hayes, the Max Kepler.
Looking for it. It was a great tweet.
It reminds me of quarterback pay in the NFL. You know how if you're the next guy to get paid, you're getting paid $40, $50 million a year. Or if you're a rookie, you're getting whatever you're paid for as a rookie. And then there's that middle ground of like the Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones where people are like, yeah, we don't really have a quarterback, but we need one. So we're going to give you like $20 million. We're going to give you like $18 million. And I guess the point there is you hear the phrase, you either have a quarterback or you don't. So either I'm going to pay you top money in the league because you're one of the best, or I'm going to take my chance with a young guy that has potential that can do that. Because the difference between paying a journeyman $18 million a year and taking a chance on my rookie, the play is going to be about the same. So why is the gap in pay $16 million? So that's why I think you throw a Justin Crawford in there in left field and you say, why pay 10 to 15 million when I can get the same production out of my rookie?
Listen, you took the words almost out of my mouth. A $10 million player in the MLB is a guy whose years of team control just ran out and is still like
that's Weston Wilson.
An average player in the league who just has to get paid by somebody at this point. So as long as he's going to make a team, that's what it's going to be for, right? You got to have that parity. Pretty much you're either playing a guy with team control or you're paying a guy that you paid $30 million for. Like that's in today's day and age, those are what your roster has to be comprised of, because all the 10 to $15 million players are the bottom guys that just aged out of being a bottom guy, right? Like he had to get paid or you had to cut him, right? So that's the decision made by being a little bit better than the next guy, right? So that's a perfect analogy. Why would I pay 4 times as much to get no extra production and there's no potential there? It's already seen. We know what you can do.
Yeah.
We're just paying you quadruple for it now.
Quadruple.
It's like the Taiwan Walker contract, like 3 years, 60 million, something like that, 20 million a year. We're paying 20 million a year. I'd rather have Mick Abel come up and struggle and get, his stripes and all that other stuff. I know we just
a fine year.
I know we just
having a fine year. Let's not go ripping Taiwan.
The bar is so low for him, Jake. Giving up 3 runs over 5 innings, and we're like, that's a good start.
It was 2 runs. It was 2.
Listen. Taiwan's
you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
He's not doing $17 million a year, all right, or whatever that ends up being.
But I think that's Sean's point, right? That's Sean's point.
If he had
to give up 3 runs in 5 innings,
season last season, he's probably still getting slightly overpaid. But people are like, all right.
Are you arguing that this is a good contract right now? Have we done such a 180 on Taiwan?
No, I think that's Sean's point, right? Sean's point is 3 runs over 5 innings worth $20 million a year?
2
But okay, so you're going to get a career 4.5 ERA guy that you're going to spend $17 million a year on, versus you could be paying $700,000 for a 24-year-old. Right, that's going to give you going to have a 4.67 ER, right? Like the differences are going to be negligible.
Yeah,
you pay top dollar for the studs, right? You go out and get the Wheelers of the world. You go out and let somebody else get the Nolas of the world, right?
and yeah, shit, you're not wrong. And here's a question I asked Doc before you guys both hopped on when we were, in the pre-show. Is Harrison Bader that much better than Otto Kemp?
Defensively, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely defensively. And that you have to value that a little bit. But you figure Harrison Bader's probably going to go to what, center field, or is he going to left?
I think he can play both. He's an excellent defender.
Yeah, but you probably put him in center because he'd be our best defensive center fielder.
Yeah, right? unless it's a lefty lineup and you play Rojas in center and Bader in left.
Okay.
Sure. I still see moving Marsh over to left and then putting him in center more often.
I agree. I see that being the prominent play, but it's just kind of like, okay, so you're obviously getting a much better glove and everything, but is it worth giving up prospects? One was a top 20 prospect. The other guy wasn't even in our top 50 for Harrison Bader. Cause it's like, now where's Otto Kemp? Is he even have a spot on this team currently?
First right-handed utility off the bench. No, that's Sosa, right?
Sosa. Like you go out and get you go out and get him.
Well, I mean, Bader's a rental, right? I mean, we're talking about just till the end of the year. We're talking about moving into the future here.
I'm talking this season. Like Otto Kemp's having a very strong season.
Yeah, I think they're willing to just kind of cut that. Like if I had to gauge whether it's right or it's wrong, and I'm a big Otto Kemp guy.
And that's more of, do you guys think that's the right decision to say, Otto Kemp, we appreciate what you've done. You came in as a top 30 between like 25 and 30 preseason. I think he was their 28th ranked prospect. You came in, you've been doing pretty damn well for us. Appreciate it. You're riding the bench for the rest of the year. Do you think that's the right decision?
You've got the hot and cold from Bohm, man. So it's whether or not you want to kind of rely on if Bohm is going to get hot at some point, coming back from this injury, or do you go with what seems to be more consistent Otto Kemp?
Yeah, I mean, Otto
Right.
Kemp, he's batting almost 240. Like, so it's not anything great, but he's had solid stretches. He had and he's got limited plate appearances. So, one small bad stretch and it'll really tank his numbers. Same with one great stretch and it'll fly back up there. But yeah, it's just tough. He's shown a lot of promise, and it's just weird how they're just so willing to be like, all right, man, thanks, see you.
I don't know. Just because so many people are like multiple positions.
We got a log jam of like mid players that could have, should have, maybe sort of deserve some playing time. Right. There's a bunch that are right on that line, man. Nobody's really playing fantastically. Nobody's been a stud that wants to separate themselves, but they're all playing just well enough to where, podcasters like us can argue about it.
Oh yeah. Doc, you've seen a lot of good baseball teams in Philadelphia and MLB alike. Is the way that the current Philadelphia Phillies team, non-pitchers, just the fielders, have been constructed post-trade deadline, are they too white?
Doc's on me. Doc's not working right now. I don't know what's happening.
I'm not allowed to comment on these types of discussions. I take the fifth.
That's fair. I mean, look, I've seen, some damn good players require a translator in post-game interviews, and I don't think that's going to be needed for any of our hitters for the remainder of this season. And I don't know. Just seems a little white to me.
Well, okay. One of them got suspended for PED, so cut it some
I said
slack,
hitters.
all right?
I said hitters.
All right.
He did say hitters.
Our translator still got some job security. We might need some brothers in there at some point. But
I'm just saying.
It is. If we can glass half full this thing too, guys, if we want, and we can say,
of course we can. And I was about to flip it.
Yeah, but there's also stuff we haven't mentioned, and that's, again, glass half full when you're hearing me speak. You got Nola coming back, right? You got Bohm coming back. I saw all of you roll your eyes or make faces, and I just said glass half full this thing. Every single one of you, I saw your faces. Mm-hmm. My point is, to win a World Series, you need your best players playing at their peak, right? Or at least
can't be great without the greatness of others.
That's correct, Jay. I've heard that quote somewhere before. So I guess my point is this. If you get back, elite Nola, if you get back elite RBI Bohm, and you're mixing Bader in now with it, and you get elite Strom, elite David Robertson, and then you can elite Kirkring and turn it over to Duran, I think you have a chance to win the World Series. But just like in baseball all the time, is what version of this Phillies player are you getting? Because this is the most Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde team I've seen. You lose series to the Angels and the White Sox, who are arguably horrific in every category imaginable. The White Sox did a bullpen game because 2 hours before the game started, they traded the pitcher who was about to start against us. So these Chicago White Sox did a bullpen game, and we had nothing for it. We had no answer for it. Then you go out and you beat the Yankees, you beat the Red Sox, and you beat the Blue Jays in series. And I'm saying, what is this team? I don't get it.
Yeah. No, it's so inconsistent. And it's just, you watch around MLB and you see like these really powerful teams. And I'd be curious. I want to get some fans of other teams on to see like, hey, what's an outsider's perspective of the Philadelphia Phillies? Because like we routinely see in the MLB power rankings, oh, the Phillies are always top 5, and we're sitting here like top 5. They're not top 5 in their own division. Like we're blowing smoke a little bit. We hold them to a higher caliber than a lot of teams. But it's like I'm curious to see from an outsider's perspective, like, hey, how do you view the Philadelphia Phillies? I'd be curious to see, because we view, we look at the Padres and the moves they made. We look at the Dodgers and everything. We looking at these teams and thinking like, oh man, these are just incredible teams going out and getting just all-star lineups up and down. And other teams might view us that way. And obviously we're struggling, but for what seems like approaching a month now, Harper's been hot. Schwarber is broke a record recently for most home runs before the month of August for the Phillies. You got Trey Turner coming down back to earth a little bit, but he's always been an up and down guy. Cassie's still having a decent season. Bohm's going to be coming back. Be curious to see what we have there. JT seems to be remembering that he is allowed to hit a baseball. Like, we have a lot of things going for us, and it's funny you mentioned all the ifs there, Coach. And the one if you didn't mention was in the playoffs. You're starting what, 3 pitchers are typically in the postseason. That wasn't an if we had to mention. We mentioned if these guys start hitting the ball great, and if we get Bohm back as an RBI machine, and if we get our bullpen guys pitching at a high level. We're not worrying about the if of our starting pitching.
Correct.
We got Ranger, Sanchez, and Wheeler all pitching at a very high level. They all had a little bit of struggles here and there post All-Star break, but we're not concerned about it. Like, that is not an if that we're worrying about. And I saw you getting in, not even an argument. You were just kind of debating very briefly in the comments with a Phillies fan about the Mets making big moves and everything. And I agree with a lot of the points that both of you guys made there, Coach. But he was like, look, like in the postseason, if you go into the 7th inning, 2 or less runs, you're going to have to feel relatively good about that game. And the Phillies are likely going to put you in a position where that's a high likelihood. That's probable that we're going to be able to go out there and hold a team to limited runs because we have such strong starting pitching.
No, I agree with that. I just think the Mets bolstered innings 7, 8, and 9, maybe even 6, 7, 8, and 9 on their back end. So really, you could say that the Mets starting pitching isn't great. All you need them to do is go 5. All you need those guys to do is go 5. And they have the offensive talent. We're sitting here talking about ifs with the Phillies offense. If the Mets get hot like we've seen them do, they have a lethal offensive lineup that, if they all hit their ceilings, can be amazing. And we've seen it. They've swept us this year too. I just think.
And the Phillies don't have a potential lethal offensive lineup?
Absolutely they do. They do too. I'm just being, as a Phillies fan, I watch more Phillies games than the Mets. And so I'll die on this hill of my team being the worst of all time, even though they're not. It's just what we do. But I think the best way to look at it, I saw a tweet that said after the trade deadline, he's like, look, every team in Major League Baseball is bad. All the trade deadline does is make you less bad than you were before. He's like, there's no runaway team. There's no powerhouse team. Not the Yankees, not the Red Sox, not the Blue Jays, not the Astros, not the Dodgers, not the Mets, not us. There's no team that's like, we're light years ahead of the rest of y'all. There's no Patriots dynasty. There's none of that. It's literally who's going to suck less during the stretch run.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off of that, we saw last year with the Mets, right? I've made this point before. We're 30 games left in the season. I was thinking if we ran into the Mets in the playoffs, we were going to steamroll them.
Yeah.
Right? Because with 30 games left, that's how the two teams were playing. And then as soon as the playoffs rolled around, guess who got hot? Not us. Not us. So, I mean, it's really, there are, like you said, there are a couple different teams, especially in this league, that are like neck and neck that could beat each other at any given, like any week. You go through a 5-game series, a 7-game series, especially. We could smoke some of these guys. We could be in and out like we were last season. Like, so it's really just a matter of who's going to get hot in, I don't know, what's it, 2 months from now.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you look at recent history in the World Series, it's more often than not, it's the hot team that gets in there. I mean, last year you had 2 powerhouses, but look at the years before. You had the Diamondbacks in there. You had us in there that really, I don't know if we deserve, but they're teams that just get hot at the right moment, you know, and nothing's guaranteed, especially in this sport. I mean, I don't see even like the Dodgers and the Astros. I mean, I could see them losing in round 1 or 2, you know, it's happened. It's happened. So,
Doc, I think we most certainly deserved to be there when we made it. I mean, we were.
Did we?
We should have won it.
I mean, we did. we played well when we had to. That's
Yes.
the thing. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not like we were
you look at every
world
team that made
beaters.
the postseason heading into the postseason.
Yeah.
Phillies wouldn't be on your short list of teams that you could see making the World Series.
Not with the Braves.
They got lucky in the game 1 of the wild card with Gene Segura hitting a CNI single, and then them just going on an incredible run from that game on.
Yeah.
But after that, they were unstoppable. I mean, they were just a train running on. I don't even know where I was going with that. They were running.
Yeah, I mean, and the Braves, when they won, they weren't everybody's darling, and they got hot
when the
in
Nationals won.
Yep. I mean, it's just you just got to make sure, and maybe they're just saving it up for that run. Maybe this is all just a warm up, a preamble to the magic that's October.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, bottom line is we got better at 2 positions of need. Right? There's only been so much complaining I'm going to do because you're not going to make or break your season. Shut up. We're not going to make or break your season at the trade deadline, right? This stuff you had all off season to cook, right? And you didn't, and you're just kind of trying to play catch up at this point. And I think they did the best they could. So now we wait and see.
Yeah. No, I'm still very excited about this team. I'm excited to see Painter come up. Do you guys still feel like that's going to be here in August? Do you feel as though some of his AAA struggles has delayed that a little bit? What are our thoughts about a timeline for Andrew Painter? Doc, I wouldn't think that there's anything physical that is keeping him up here.
No, I think it's a combination of you are getting good starting pitching now, and you're kind of in a dogfight now. So it's like, do we bring him up when we're really struggling for wins and stuff? And I think him struggling down below, I mean, you saw what happened with our nearly departed pitcher who came up and just, it was batting practice for a couple sessions there. And I think that it's going to happen. It's just a question of, I think they need a little bit more. I mean, to get these, like you said, losing these series to lesser teams. And it's like, well, maybe now's not the right time to do it. And that may be all it is.
Yeah.
And I think there's little, I mean, you and the Mets are neck and neck. So I don't know, timing wise, when the best time to do it is.
Yeah. I'm just hoping that, we do see one of these, Crawford, Painter, somebody up here relatively soon, because it kind of brings a little life to the team. You're excited. And we talked about this a couple months ago where I'm like, man, I always see these MLB tweets of just like, oh, here making his MLB debut, MLB's top something prospect. And I'm like, man, it feels like it's been forever since we've seen like a Phillies player on that list where they're just like, man, like who got the tops MLB debut patch card of this Phillies prospect? Like there is never one in the past 20 years where it's like, oh, you have that card? Are you kidding me? That's worth so much money. And it'll be exciting to see, Painter, he's got to be an exciting prospect. And collectors, I'm sure, are going to be itching to get the Andrew Painter, debut patch card. Crawford is going to be an exciting guy to have come up here and see how he plays. And he's going to bring a lot of what we need. I mean, he's a contact guy that has plus speed, plus glove, plus arm. Obviously we need some power, but when we're going out there and having these games where we're just getting 4 hits and their only runs or we got 2 home runs, like we need a guy to get on base, steal a bag, and get in a good position. And so it'll be exciting to see what they have. And it's going to be a fun last couple months of the season, or I'm certainly hoping that it will be. I'm very optimistic. And then this team usually, it's kind of going by the same stretch that it went in 2008, where they went from World Series to NLCS to NLDS to wild card. So, hopefully we can buck that trend and get back to winning a couple of postseason series. But this team does tend to get hot once they get towards that end of the season, other than last year. And then obviously how the season ended.
I think you call up both sooner than later, to be honest with you. You hear about the 3 being untouchable. Call 2 of them up. And we talked about earlier on the show, price versus production. If you platoon Crawford and Rojas in center, and then you platoon Marsh and Bader in left, you start Bader and Rojas against a lefty, and you start Crawford and Marsh against a righty. Why can't you do that? Is there going to be a huge difference between Rojas and Crawford at the plate? Is there going to be a huge difference between Marsh and Bader at the plate? when they're facing the opposite-handed pitcher, respectively? I don't think so. And then if you call up Painter, is there going to be a big difference between Painter and Taijuan Walker, who's your SP5 right now at the moment? I don't think so. So I'd rather these guys get some reps in and get some timing in. Will there be some struggles? Sure. But I'd rather do that sooner and later. So by the time you get to the playoffs, if you do need to use these guys, they're not so starstruck. They're not so rusty. They're not so getting their groove. They've been ensconced in the team. They're comfortable. I'd rather do that earlier than later because, like I said, what is the drop-off from Rojas to Crawford? Really? What is the drop-off from Marsh to Bader? Really? Like what is, and vice versa? What is the drop-off from Painter to Walker? If there's not that much of a negligible difference, wouldn't you want these young guys that are great and untouchable to get this experience now?
Well, it really just depends on like at what point can we bring them up and it not affect the amount of years of team control that they've got. If there's not a big difference in skill and there's not a big difference in money, then they're not coming up.
Exactly.
They're not coming up until they either have to pay somebody big bucks or bring them up, right? Because if the difference isn't that big, just keep what you got. Because it's only going to hurt the amount of years of team control that you've got, and you're going to have to pay them a year sooner, or you have to let them go a year sooner. So, if these are the real deal, you bring them up when it's time for them to start, and you just roll them out there, right? So, as much as I want to see these guys, I thought, when can we do that? Is that like the last 3 weeks of the season or something like that?
Yeah,
I honestly don't know. I was trying to look it up while you were chatting, Coach. I'm sorry I couldn't find it, but
No, you're
if anybody
fine.
knows, let me know.
Yeah, but
No,
to your guys' point, we definitely kind of brushed over the Duran trade. I mean, we gave up Eduardo Tate, who knows what he's going to be. He's an 18-year-old catching prospect. He was a top 5 prospect in our system. We gave up Mick Abel, which you feel good for him. I mean, I'm excited to see what he can do in his MLB career. It seems like we've been talking about him for 5 years as being one of our top pitching prospects. And last year or the year before, he really hit rock bottom and was really struggling. And then you were like, man, is this another Griff McGarry? Is this another one of these guys where it's just he's untouchable and he never turns out? And then it was great to see a lot of promise this year, both in the AAA and in the MLB level. He obviously had a number of very poor starts, but his very first start of his career, he probably outdueled Paul Skeens. He pitched great that game. Obviously, the Phillies batters are better than the Pirates batters, so you never know what would have happened if he was pitching for the Pirates that game. But he pitched great a handful of games, and so it's exciting to see what he can do. And if he hadn't done that, there's no way we would have been able to get Duran for only 2 prospects. I mean, we would have had to throw in a couple of more guys. And so it was fun to see him go out there, pitch to a relatively high level, get a lot of return out of him because, I mean, Duran's 27 years old. We have the rest of this season and 2 more years of control on him. If we thought Alvarado could throw the heat, Alvarado's never touched 105. I mean, this guy can throw his average fastball velocity, I think, is 100.3. Like anytime your average fastball velocity is in the triple digits, you're throwing some serious cheddar. And so to get a guy like that in here is going to be exciting. And sure, we get Alvarado back as well for the regular season. He's postseason ineligible, but he's going to be coming back somewhat soon. Come the end of the season, he's going to have to ramp it back up to get there. We're going to have one of, if not the best bullpens in the National League for the remainder of the regular season. It's going to take a hit come postseason, but also, like we've talked about, you're going to have some starting pitchers head down to the bullpen and pitch some meaningful innings for us here in the postseason. So a lot of positives still looking for this team. We just need them to start playing up to their potential. And we need to see Kevin Long just get his head out of his ass for where it seems to have been stuck for the past 3 to 7 years.
Speaking of Alvarado, Duran is like Alvarado, but if Alvarado had insane control at his peak. So like the best version of Alvarado we've seen, but imagine with like no control issues. Like that's Duran. He throws smoke all the time, and his smoke looks like his slider, looks like his sweeper. It's just, if you watch this guy pitch, the 103 isn't like all over the place. The 103 is paint, and that is what's hard to do. If you've ever been just like a regular person here or a carnival or, Dave and Buster's, and you try to throw the baseball as fast as you can, yeah, you could probably throw it a decent amount speed-wise, 70s, give or take, but it's nowhere near that little target that you're trying to aim for it. So 103 painting is is unreal, guys. It's getting this guy, like Jake said, for the next 2.5 years is crazy. And hats off to Mick Abel for making himself a top 100 prospect after me and Sean joked we wouldn't call him up for free.
Hats off to Dombrowski for moving him after we've been making fun of him for the last 730 calendar days.
That's true.
And Sean, I found there is the 16-day rule where if a team keeps a prospect in the minors for the first 16 days of the season or longer, they effectively delay the start of that player's service time clock, preventing them from reaching 6 years at the end of their 7th season. So I don't know if that's it. If that's the case, then there's no reason not to bring them up. But it always does seem like, no, you got to wait until the last 3 weeks of the season or something. So I'm still trying to research it. I'm sure I could just, text Ben Silver. He probably has the rule book memorized. Guy's just a baseball savant. But I know there is the 16-day rule where as long as they're not on your, 40-man roster for the first 16 days of the season, it delays their eligibility for years of service. But it does seem like there is something also for the end of the year.
Wish that was easier to understand.
I don't know. Maybe it has came and went for the last couple seasons. I don't remember. When I was a kid, I always was told it was because we sucked so bad, so they gave us a shot to see some of the up and comers. But that was 99, 2000, stuff of that era.
That's fair. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Delaware Orthopedic Specialists. Spring has officially sprung, and you know what that means. All the weekend warriors dusting off their gear and trying way too hard to relive the glory days, and you know what's going to happen. Hip, ankle, foot, leg, knee, shoulder, injuries. Where else should you go other than Delaware Orthopedic Specialists? I don't know. DOS has specialists trained in each and every part of the body, so you're getting a provider specifically assigned to that part of the body. Why would you trust anyone other than a specialist? The only fellowship-trained surgery center in the state of Delaware makes it a no-brainer. Head on over to delortho.com or give them a call at 302-655-9494. I'm telling you, my family's gone there. My friends have gone there. Check out their Google reviews. They are phenomenal. DOS. Don't trust anyone other than a specialist. Eagles full pads here at training camp. A couple of guys not practicing. Terrace Marshall, Devontae Smith. There was one other, relatively larger name. Was it Tyler Steen? I don't remember. There's somebody else that missed some time. Doc, it was all just like generic, like back stiffness, like nothing serious. They didn't even really talk about it in any of the press conferences or anything. So I wouldn't assume it's anything that we have to really have any concern about.
No, the one that worries me is Marshall, because he had some sort of a leg injury, and I didn't see an update on that. And, this was a kid that was on those LSU teams with Joe Burrow. And if this guy can pan out, and they've already said he's 6'3", he's been with crappy quarterbacks. So you put him in a good system, this guy could really be a player for us. And I don't know. I hope to God he didn't have a bad knee injury, but they said he got carted off the field, and I didn't hear any follow-up to that. So that's the one I got my eye on, but I haven't seen any updates.
Yeah, the latest thing I have is that somebody is reporting, Philadelphia Eagles Central on Twitter is reporting that it is a knee injury.
Right, I knew it was a knee injury, but I didn't know to what extent. Did he blow it out his knee?
It says that the severity of the injury is
best case
determined.
is a bone bruise or something like that. That's going to be couple weeks, maybe out. And I think he's shown enough that they may be willing to hold on to him or put him on the pup for a while. I mean, I don't think this is a guy you just released just because he got hurt, unless it's something devastating,
Well, the fact that Johnny Wilson can't catch a football, I think might help his case a little bit as well.
It's not important at the wide receiver position, Coach. You should
listen. Scary Terry just requested a trade as of like an hour or two ago. So Howie, just shoot him a third. We'll take him.
Yeah,
I think that's because Scary Terry wants $35 million a year.
Yeah.
And it's just like Jimmy Kemsky tweeted about it. He's like, look, I did the math, and they either signed or extended is something like 20 or 30 players that were either 30 years of old or older or will be 30 come the start of 2026 or like February or something. but they draw the line at Terry McLaurin. They're like, nah, we can't pay this guy. He's only been our leading wide receiver for the past 6 consecutive seasons, with the second leading receiver having typically half the amount of yards as him.
Yeah,
Josh Harris run team.
But he's older than you think. I think
Terry McLaurin.
He's older than I thought.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, I thought he was a younger player, but even so, he's your most productive player on offense.
He's 29 years old.
Right. I didn't think he was that old.
Which means this is his time to get paid.
Yeah.
Like he's got to capitalize on this.
It's his last mega contract.
Yeah.
Can someone tell Jihad Campbell to kind of chill out a little bit, like in camp and in practice? Like, did he hurt? I think he hurt Goddard and he hurt Van Sumer because like he's just going 100 miles an hour, which part of me is like, I love that.
Oh yeah.
But the other part of me is like, hey, brother, like those guys in the green jerseys, like they're our friends.
Those, no, it for a high school, you love it, right? For a college freshman, you love it. This is a professional. My brother, you've got the job.
They traded up for you.
You're not fighting for a roster spot, my man. So you need to slow it down, because I'm going to be pissed off if some of these guys aren't ready because you wanted to go crazy, the second week of training.
Yeah, but Vic loves it. Vic is like, oh, I don't care about those offensive guys. That's my defensive linebacker right there.
Yeah. But didn't we talk about this? I think we've talked about this on the show before. Maybe Doc mentioned it. Like, I'd rather tell a guy to dial it back than to tell a guy to ramp it up type deal.
Yeah.
Like, if you had your choice there, right? Like, I'd rather have him reel that shit in than to get a guy always having to get him going. So,
well, if you dial it back, he's got the potential. If you're trying to ramp it up, you don't know what you really have. So, yeah, I agree.
And I don't want to ever have to motivate someone to give me their all. Like, I want them to just be wired that way. And it seems that's the way. I mean, these Bama, Georgia guys that we all have, right? Like, that's how they're coached.
Yeah. No, it's a fun time. What, a week away from our first preseason game. I'm sure we have a million joint practices coming up where we're going to hear, because per Nick Sirianni, joint practices are more valuable than preseason games. You think you're going to see any change in their mentality of resting pretty much every starter in the preseason? You think we're going to see anybody out there, especially after last season and the success we had in the relatively injury-free season? We're just going to keep it status quo.
World effing champions. Why would you change?
Yeah.
Why would you change?
If it ain't, bro.
And the way
this roster is constructed, there's one thing that Eagles fans should care about, and that's health. That is literally the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if this team stays healthy, I'm expecting us to go back to the Super Bowl this year. I don't know about you guys. We'll get into this Eagles roster after the 53 is released and everything like that. If the only thing stopping us right now is health, aka ourselves, Jalen, brother, grab that clipboard. Saquon, grab the clipboard. Every prominent player on the tip of your tongue that's a household name, grab the clipboard. And honestly, don't bitch about it. Don't cry as a fan that you don't want to see good football. Enjoy watching the Scooter Johnsons of the world try to make it as the 5th string long snapper. Just enjoy it while the other guys stay healthy. They know how to play this game. They do. Preseason is not going to prove anything.
Sean, you were out last week for our episode. We all gave our Paul Turner training camp champ projections. Unfortunately, mine took a big hit, and Terrace Marshall, as I thought he was going to be the Paul Turner training camp champ. Who you got pegged as your PT?
I don't have anybody. This team's a bunch of behemoths. I don't know if there's a guy that between number 50 and 53 on the roster, that's a guy that's fighting for a roster spot over here. I got to tell you, it doesn't seem like anybody outside of an occasional Terrence Marshall pop has gotten much buzz.
Yeah.
Have we heard of anybody standing out?
Obviously, I don't think this guy would qualify because he's been in the NFL for so long, but I've heard some good words about AJ Dillon. I've heard people say
that was one of the very few people that did pop in my mind, but that guy's been a pro. The guy's
he doesn't qualify.
So no. I don't know. There aren't many underdogs on this team, man. Like I don't know who we really,
Is there any concern of anybody that we haven't really heard anybody running away with the other safety spot or the other cornerback spot? Any concern there?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Doc.
Everybody's high on Ringo. That guy scares the shit out of me.
Yeah,
And he frightens me to death. And I'm like, I hope they have a plan C, because I don't think what's his name's the answer either. So hopefully they're looking around saying, oh, who's still out there? Samuel Jr. or somebody still floating around that they can pick up? And the same goes for safety. I think they have more of a plan at safety because they start moving people around. But that second corner slot, I mean, first of all, you got a second-year player taking your top receiver. And don't get me wrong, I think Q is more than qualified to do that. But it's scary to put him from one side to the other and have him follow your number one. And then, this league is made up of pretty high top two receivers, and you're putting Ringo on them. And that is the one thing that scares the crap out of me about this defense.
Yeah, just that Ringo and Adoree Jackson are battling out for the spot. Yeah. You're like, what do you mean they're battling? Yeah. That's awful.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like Ringo's been beaten out now. He got beat out by a rookie, Quinyon Mitchell, and then even the backup to Slay, it was Rodgers, right? It wasn't Ringo first off, it was Rodgers. So, and then they moved Coop to slot. There wasn't really much. And then now, like you said, if you're battling with Adoree Jackson, no disrespect to Adoree Jackson, but he's kind of a journeyman at this point. I'm not gonna lie to you. I saw a tweet that was like, what are y'all gonna do if you have Q on CD? Then who's gonna guard Pickens? And normally I would have fired back as an Eagles fan, but I was like, shit, I don't really want Ringo on an island with Pickens, to be honest with you either. Like, do I trust my D-line versus the O-line, my linebackers versus their tight ends, running backs, all that stuff? Yes, I do. Do I trust Fangio? Yes, I do. But kind of like Doc said, I guess when you didn't know what Zach Bond was early as an Eagles fan, you then watched an NFL game and you're like, okay, yeah, Zach Bond knows what he's doing. Same thing with Nakobe coming off injury and not really starting. Jake, we talked about Nakobe. Is he even good or not? And then we saw a few games where he was in Vic's scheme and we were like, okay, yeah, this is right. But I've never had that moment with Ringo. I just preseason, even when he filled in when Slay got banged up, when he would come in late in games, I just never was like, oh, now I see it. Now I see the potential. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little nervous there too.
Oh, I'm terrified. I mean, we've been saying it all along. People are just so hype about Kelee Ringo and about his potential. And it's just, we're like, all right, yeah, sure. Like, I love Georgia Bulldogs. Like, we've been seeing a lot of great players on this team. Sure, we were excited when he fell to us in the 4th round, and we thought maybe he was a day 2 guy. Like, that's exciting. We had a prospect that's going to be able to learn behind Darius Slay, behind who we thought at the time was a stud, and James Bradbury, who, again, as a person, can't say enough nice things. He did his job. He did everything he could. He was a great teammate. And people were like, oh, this guy's going to be great. He's going to have this veteran presence that's going to mold him into it. He's going to be a stud. And then they're like referring to 2 or 3 plays where we're like, hey, good rep. Really strong rep, Kelee. And then, coach, I feel like we're the only ones watching the other 17 where we're just like, what the fuck are you doing out there? Like, your hips are concrete. Your cleats are you're running in a swamp. It looks like he's playing on sand and everybody else is playing on turf.
And we want him to be good. We want him to be
good.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I want him to be all pro first team.
Yeah.
Just like when I got into it with Aaron Sippis.
Yeah.
And I got into the argument with his brother. And I said, listen, man, I would love nothing more than your brother to average 80 yards on every punt. But I've got eyes, and your brother sucks. I want Kelee Ringo to be the best damn corner in the NFL. But I'm preparing for what I've seen in his first couple of seasons, that he's just not that good. He's very, very penalty prone because he gets beat way too easily. And he just latches on to somebody and rips him down.
But that's the thing I'm always cautious with when people are like, oh, the Georgia Bulldogs. The Georgia Bulldogs had a legendary collegiate defense. So he probably didn't have to work that hard. The quarterbacks were worse. The receivers, for the most part, were worse unless you're playing Alabama. So anybody can look like a superstar when you're on a superstar all-star team. You know, you just got to be able to keep pace. And now the playing field is much more level, and that's where some of these guys get exposed. Great, you played on LSU, you won a national championship, but you were one of the you were a linebacker that really didn't do much there. Your production is going to go down at best, and that's what scares me about him. He's almost riding the coattails of all the other guys that are here from that school. It's like, oh, he's another Georgia Bulldog. He can't miss, but sometimes you can.
Yeah, and Doc, I thought you nailed it.
That being said, I want him to win. I want nothing more than not to worry about, our second corner. But the reality is you see what you see.
And Doc, I think you nailed it, that the wide receiver position in the NFL feels like it's never been stronger.
Yeah.
It feels like every team has a 1A, 1B. And it's not just this clear number one, well, except for the Commanders, but it's not this clear number one. And then there's a number two. Like probably 2/3 of the NFL have two very strong wide receivers.
Yeah. Not too many Todd Pinkstons left in the league, We have
the Commanders typically just have the one.
I'll tell you what, too, guys, that the right guard spot, I know somebody mentioned Tyler Steen earlier. I heard he's not necessarily running away with it, and Kenyon Green hasn't really looked like a first-round pick still. I'm not as worried about that, though, as corner, because when you're between Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson and you're on that offensive line and Stoutland, I don't literally mean this, but I almost feel like you could stick almost any warm body there between those guys and it'll be successful in that scheme. Whereas corner, sometimes you're out there by yourself, man. Like
Absolutely.
It could be a breakdown in play. There could be a blitz, even though we don't blitz much. Coverage could lean to the other way, and you're just there one-on-one with a Malik Neighbors, a CeeDee Lamb, a George Pickens, before you could say Scary Terry. But, there's guys like that can just eat you alive. And if we know one thing about the NFL, what coaches do, their whole game plan each week is to exploit your weakness. And if they see that Quinyon Mitchell can get the treatment of, hey, I hope you get bored over there, Q, we're not throwing a single pass to that side, not because Q's so good, but because we know Ringo's just getting his feet wet. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard from like Anthony DeBono. We all like his reporting, everything. He's been saying that Tyler Steen's been having a very strong training camp. So I've heard that he's still probably the top guy for that role. But there hasn't been, oh, he's incredible. I've just heard like, hey, we're happy with the improvements we've seen him make this offseason. He obviously had to start a few games last year, at least came into another number of games last year where we were like, hey, we saw a little something here and there. So if he's improved from that point, I'm not too worried about it. And then, Coach, to your point, like it's a position that we can coach around and scheme around because we have all pros or Pro Bowlers at every other position on the offensive line. It's like, all right, you have one guy that's not a Pro Bowler, but is a serviceable starter on 12 of the 32 NFL teams. Yeah, that's fine when we have 2 All Pros and 2 Pro Bowlers as the other 4.
Agree.
Hall of Famers.
Yeah, no kidding.
Let me ask you guys, tomorrow's lineup against the Detroit Tigers, if you see Kepler out there in left field and Bader on the bench, what is going to be your feeling? How are you going to feel? Do you feel like he should go there right away, right? Like, can we end the Kepler experiment? Have we seen the last game Kepler plays for the Phillies? Yes or no?
No. I'd be very interested in hearing what Rob Thompson has to say after the game, right? Like I'd be trying to figure out how he's going to kind of word this. His days are numbered for sure.
But he has an out because he got hurt in the Chicago game. So we were just talking about this, before the game he hurt himself. So that might be a convenient excuse to use this series tomorrow. And going forward, he could have an Aaron Nola injury or pick any Sixer injury, and that could last for a significant amount of time.
Yeah. Never know how it's going to play out with Kepler in this strained tricep.
And also with you guys being in the area and me not, how excited are the three of you to be live during that Duran entrance? If you've seen it, I don't know if they're going to replicate it or what it is, but it is so badass.
They better. I mean, this team has done such a terrible job at reliever walk-ins. They better replicate it. And they have the bell. They have the damn bell at the stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if they
don't,
it's
an elite entrance. It really is.
For sure. I'm sure that the not pyrotechnics, whatever, the animations and all that'll be a little bit different. But they gotta do it justice, because we need a guy to get the crowd behind. You know, we haven't had that badass strolling down.
Yeah.
You know, I'm telling you, that first like little Undertaker gong is gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
They better. I'm still very worried they're not going to do it.
Yeah, well, they should learn from history. I mean, when I was a resident, and I'm significantly older than you guys, I was in New York, and I went to Yankee games when they brought Mariano Rivera in, and they played Enter Sandman. It was insane. I mean, it went from like even regular season to like deciding playoff game instantly when that music came on. It was electric. I mean, goosebumps just thinking about it. I mean, we need that in this, and this town will eat that up. Eat it up.
Yeah, which
And
is what
You guys live there. What do they play when Jordan Romano comes in? What's his entrance?
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no mo, no mo, no mo, no mo.
You guys go to your cars, closing time plays.
Yeah.
I
I don't even know what is his. Who has an entrance?
don't think does anybody.
Does anybody have it?
I don't
I think
you guys would
Strom
know
has
better
like a song.
Yeah, they have songs. They don't
Yeah,
have.
nobody has an entrance, I don't think.
Yeah, but nobody
Alvarado
has-
didn't have like anything, or
No.
No.
okay, they need to do this then. They need
No,
to.
you
do
want to
what
know
we
the
do.
last? You want to know the last pitcher they gave an entrance to?
Even Kimbrel took Kimbrel
Craig
like 100 games.
Craig
He
Kimbrel
only
was
had it the last like third of that season, though.
Yeah, Craig
And
Kimbrel
they
was
gave
the
him,
last
like what?
pitcher
Welcome
they
to the
gave an
jungle.
entrance to.
I don't know what his was, but
It
Yeah,
wasn't
welcome
great.
to the jungle.
I really hope the Phillies do it. I hope they use it.
They have.
Like Doc said, get everybody with goosebumps, and like as an opposing batter, you know, like we talk about calling a rookie up of ours. What if a rookie's coming to the plate and he's like, "Oh my god, dude! Like this is," and then here's 103 on the corner, bitch.
Dude, I'm telling you, if you get a guy in like, not to take too much of your idea, but to piggyback off that idea, if you get a guy in an Undertaker outfit to just wail on the Liberty Bell, dude, I'm telling you, everybody would be fist fighting, but in a good way. Like,
wait, so this could be like Padilla's Flotillas, or like what did they use? Randy's Wolfpack, or things like that. If you, Sean, you're making this movement right now. You get people to dress like the Undertaker, and then the camera just zooms to like 20 people dressed like the Undertaker.
get Paul Bearer, Kane in there. Come on, let's go.
So see, I mean, because people used to dress up like that. There was two of those, and
We have fun. We used to
Doc,
have fun at the ballpark.
You dress up, Doc. We'll go to your seats, all dressed up.
There you go. Absolutely.
You in?
Absolutely.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah.
Dr. Mesa is going to dress up like the Undertaker.
I mean, that would be awesome. It really
Get some
would.
free time.
I mean, what else are we gonna do? Wear all of our Phillies gear, while our girls wear Yankees gear, and we just sit next to each other in the 400.
Sean, this is a family show. For those
Save
of
that
you who didn't catch up on.
Oh yes.
Anyway, final thoughts. Final thought. Look, you listen to the first 25 minutes of this episode, you think we're just ripping on the Phils, and we just know that we have a season that we haven't seen since Ryan Howard. Also, real quickly, if you look at that stretch that Ryan Howard went on, still probably the greatest stretch from any professional batter I've ever seen. Not to knock Schwarber at all, he's incredible. But that was just another world where Ryan Howard was on. But either way, you got Schwarber hot. You got Harper coming back to be one of the best batters in baseball. We have guys that have such high potential up and down this lineup. We improved the team, to Sean's point. We are a better team today than we were yesterday. Let's see what we can do. Let's get something to jolt these boys up. It could be that walk-in of Duran that just gets everybody, resets the mental mindset of just like, all right, we are the baddest team in the NL. Let's go out there and take this shit. So who knows? That's my final.
Dude, final thought. Phillies suck. Go win the World Series already.
Here's my thought. One door closes, the trade deadline's over, and one door opens, preseason starting. So The caravan continues.
Avante Maddox out there making big plays.
Playing in the Hall of Fame game is not great. My final thought is Bryce Harper was 1,000% right by telling Rob Manfred to get the F out when the subject of salary cap came up. The biggest issue Major League Baseball has is cheap owners in markets where they could spend a lot of money and they refuse to, and they sell off all their assets. Look at what the Twins just did right now. Jake loves this because he hates when owners make billions and refuse to spend dollars. Salary cap will just make the teams that do spend money in order to win spend less. And that's not good for baseball. That's evening the playing field with shitty teams. Bryce Harper was right. Make these billionaires open up their checkbooks.
Yeah. Give me a salary floor before you give me a salary cap.
Correct.
Yeah.
Every team has to spend a certain amount of money. That's what I'm thinking. All right, go Phils, go Birds. We're out of here.